The reality of having stuff on your lips before you do a video. Better. The reality of having the right genetics with the right chemicals inside your body to initiate an amazing fat loss, muscle gaining phenomenon. What I mean by this, and I want to be completely transparent, completely honest, like I always am. And I want to talk about whenever you are internally healthy, everything checks and balances is all pretty decent. You are running good amounts, I don't want to say good amounts, but optimal amounts of hormones, growth hormone, Masteron, this, that, and the other, whatever pre-contest drug agents that you can think of are all in the mix, and you're responding well to them. Your heart's healthy where you can handle thermogenic aids, clenbuterol, ephedra, yohimbine, that kind of stuff. These higher level athletes, national level professionals, straight up, I'm just going to be honest, I was there, not that I was that great or that high level, but I was up there. It was so much easier to get in shape. It's amazing. The whole script is changed. It's all flipped, skewed, and you can start thinking a lot of delusional things because you're caught up in your own haze of chemical warfare with what's going on in your body as far as adding chemicals, and of course that response with also combined decent genetics with the chemicals, meaning that you're naturally a guy that doesn't really put on a lot of fat. Maybe you're naturally mesomorphic or maybe more ecto, where you just stay leaner naturally. You add these compounds on top of a genetically already lean person with a decent androgenic response, where their androgen receptors and everything is well absorbed as far as food and accepting the hormones. And contest preps and getting lean is honestly not that damn hard. This is what I mean. And I just want to recite my own personal experience, because it's always best to recite what you've done in the trenches yourself. When I would get ready for shows, even without adding growth hormones, so even my years just with the lower dose anabolics, I never really had to do a lot of cardio. And every time I did do cardio, I actually had to cut it out because it actually was more negative for my physique back then, because the chemicals, the elevated hormone levels of whether it was testosterone or trenbolone or whatever was enough for me with my metabolic rate. I never had to use thyroid drugs or anything like that. I did use a lot of clenbuterol, which wasn't the healthiest thing, but I found that I actually didn't need to do a lot of cardio. I found that I didn't need to cut carbs that low back then, let alone whenever I finally added in growth hormone and increased my dosages a little bit, things got even freaking easier. I was able to eat tons of carbs, 600, 700, 800 grams of carbs. I was able to have more refeeds. If I wanted to have cheats, I could. However, I'm still mental where I didn't, even though I probably could have gotten by with them. I'd have refeeds or higher carb days or sushi refeeds, all you can eat, all that stuff. And I didn't have to do a lick of cardio. When I had tren involved and growth hormone involved, and my natural metabolism, whenever I didn't have any blood pressure medications or anything to slow me down, and I was just pedal to the metal, no cardio, tons of carbs, melted fat off, stayed full, felt as good as I can feel doing all that stuff, and it was easier. You look at my old videos, I could eat, I would even have Quest bars during my contest prep because I knew that I personally could get by with that, and I never slacked on conditioning. I brought conditioning. Had I not brought conditioning or whatever, or slept, I would have done whatever I needed to do to get there, but I knew I didn't need to. I knew with the chemicals and my metabolism, my genetics, I did what I needed to do at that current time. So I will say, you see some of these pros and their crazy cheat meals and Five Guys and this and that and the other. Just know that the chemicals they're on, whether it's hormones and then stimulants and then peptides, growth hormone, combined with their innate or inborn genetic gifts of metabolic rate, don't get too sad whenever they're eating all this stuff, and just know that it is easier. I'm not going to say it's completely easy, because no matter what, being lean is not fun. There is some suffering, of course, but the degree and level of suffering is not there. You see a lot of guys that they have a weekly cheat with their burgers and fries and pizza, and they show up on stage, they still have a bloated face, but they still have shredded glutes, and you know, they're still not quite dug out, etched out, but they're still lean enough to look really impressive. And I guarantee they didn't really freaking dig that hard. They didn't have to suffer, because the momentum and the beauty of the chemicals plus the genetics, that synergy took them there. And hell, I mean, why, you know, they're already now at that point where they're now conditioned and used to the drugs and the genetics that to them it might be hard, but if they really were to reevaluate things and have to come off that stuff and have life changes, they would understand that, damn, that was hell of a lot easier to get lean and shave off that body fat. I have that perspective now because I'm on blood pressure meds, and I came down my testosterone to TRT, and I don't use stimulants or caffeine ever. But I'm a weirdo where I love to work hard. And actually, sometimes I wanted to do cardio, but I knew it was worse for me back then, as weird as that sounds. And I actually wanted to overdo things, but it made me look worse. Now I have to overdo things like I wanted to, and I look better. So I guess I'm happier now. I get to work harder for the almost a lesser result, but I'm cool with that. So just know, guys, that perfect storm of chemical enhancement and then natural genetics, that's why a lot of these guys are freaking, it's just not that hard. I'm just gonna say it. With the right genetics and the right chemicals, some people just melt fat like no one's business, and they're eating stuff that some of these other chubbier, genetically deficient guys can only dream about. Even these genetically deficient guys, they'll have the hormonal equation, you know, maximized, but just genetically they just are more bigger bone, fatter, not vascular, thick skin. They don't have that component. But when you got that component with the chemicals, a lot easier. So I don't have any more shit on my face. Just want to be real with you guys. This shit is not that hard, and it can be very simple with the right genetic makeup and the right chemicals. But for those guys that need to work harder, I think it feels great. I think it feels awesome. You know, it feels awesome no matter what to be shredded, even if it was easier and you could cheat. Not cheat, but eat a lot higher calorie foods and not suffer as much. But it feels good to suffer, and it feels good to dig deep, and it feels good to do that cardio, which is actually healthy for cardiovascular, healthy for mental clarity. And I would bypass that stuff. I never did a lick of cardio. I was breathing heavy. I would slack on giant sets. I'd be acting like I'm having a heart attack after doing a giant set rotation, because I didn't need cardio. But it feels good to employ that stuff. It feels great. So I would say, even if you know the chemicals are helping and the genetics there, and you don't need to do cardio, maybe just do a little bit just for cardiovascular. Because I know if you do too much, some people can look worse like I used to. But just a little something so you can train hard on legs and whatnot. That's it, guys. Just thought I'd bring that up. It just dawned on me as I was thinking about an old prep with stuffing my face full of carbohydrates and just seeing myself get leaner and leaner, and you know, I wasn't really suffering.